Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to report a trade.
We have a trade to announce.
Tails.
Let's go.
How about this trade that just went down?
Wow.
Okay, so the rumor's true. Okay, we just traded you. Okay, we traded you to the Indianapolis Colts. All right. So, you okay?
Nah, I want to call my grandmother.
You can call your grandmother? Okay, this hasn't hit the papers or anything like that. Okay, well, why don't we do a little business first, okay? Before you call grandma, okay?
Welcome back into another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. Kind of a surprise edition because I thought this whole week we weren't going to do a damn thing. I mean, we missed 4D, we missed Tuesday AMA, two of our favorites. We love talking to you. We love doing it. Adam hit me up today. He's playing sick. He's playing hurt. It's the Jordan flu game. We can't miss out on the trade show. We can't miss out bringing content to you. So, Adam, I don't even need to ask you how you doing, but are you still alive? Are you still with us, buddy?
I'm here, and I'm ready to go as much as I can be. I will say missing content this week sucked, and I'm stir crazy. So just getting down to the basement from the bedroom is a big deal for me. So let's go, man. Let's do some dynasty trades. You know, we're up against the clock, but this will be out for you Saturday morning. It's Friday night. Let's get into it, Mike. We're going to start with one of you and I, but we kind of want to say thanks everybody for all the subscriptions. They're coming in fast and strong. Yeah. We're getting close to 1,000. So you guys are bringing the heat to us. I got to do the same. Come out from the bedroom. It's time to perform. You know, we got a game to do, Mike. Let's go.
I was pretty pleasantly surprised when you hit me up this afternoon, right before I got off work. Like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit better. Maybe we could do the trade show tonight. I'm like, say less. Let's do this. So speaking of it, we're almost at 1,000. I mean, we are about 30 people away. You guys are incredible. You've been hitting that subscribe button. Thank you so much. And as a reward, Adam, I told you I couldn't just sit pat. If you don't know, we got 2 signed Jackson Smith and Jigba jerseys that we're giving away, a DeAndre Swift Georgia jersey that we're giving away, a really nice white Jordan Addison signed jersey that we're giving away. But I got 4 more things for y'all. 4 more things for the 1,000 giveaway.
4.
I couldn't sit pat at them. Yes, they are on the way. I can't show them now, but just trust me, they're here. Not 1, but 2 Kayshon Boutte signed pictures. So one of them's an 11 by 14. The other one's an 8 by 10. Adam, I also got an Xavier Worthy Texas Longhorns signed jersey. So not part of this draft class, but those of you at C2C fandom, you know who Xavier Worthy is. And my favorite, because this is one of my favorite players coming out, like I'm back in on the small guys. I'm back in. I'm ready to be hurt again. A signed Zay Flowers Boston College mini helmet. Let's go.
Damn. I'll tell you one thing. I'm feeling a little better already. That is coming after it. And, Mike, I may have peeked and saw that we have a 24 pick, at least one, in these trades. So just keep that in mind, whoever wins that Xavier Worthy, you know?
They might be using that soon. But let's get to these deals, man.
Let's do it, man.
Get the people the
let's
deals.
do it. And you know what we're going to do, Mike? We're going to start off with you and I. We actually had a twofer today. We did a couple trades, so let's get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, go ahead. Mike, go ahead and start it off with what the hell the agenda is here that you're on right now. Man on a mission.
I'm a man on a mission to acquire all the Juwan Johnson I can. That's my guy. I'm planting my flag right now. January 20th, Adam. I had to look at the date. I've been working like a dog. I forget what date it is. I know it's Friday. I just don't know what the number was. January 20th, I'm planting my flag on Juwan Johnson. And I want to get him everywhere. And one of the shittiest parts is we play in so many leagues together, you also have most of the Juwan Johnson. So I got to come to you. I got to come to you and pay the piper. And after this goes live on Saturday, I don't think I'm going to get very much more Juwan Johnson. I would think, unless people think I'm fucking insane or crazy. But this all stemmed from having a conversation and looking at my best ball spike week consistency. If you follow us and know anything, a sheet that we made last year that we look at just past season, like who would have made your lineup in best ball, how many times, how hard did they make your lineup, right? Like how hard did they spike? in order to make it. Juwan Johnson I was blown away by how good he was this past year. Adam, on that sheet, we weighted spike weeks and consistency weeks. So consistent weeks, scoring above average at the position, you just get a 1 times multiplier. But a spike week gets you a 1.33. His overall score put him at number 7 for tight ends, Adam. Number 7 out of everybody. And this is playing most of the year with Andy fucking Dalton. Andy Dalton. I was a big Adam Troutman fan. So were you. That's done. It's over with. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
It was fun. It's Juwan Johnson's team. And the prices haven't caught up to actually how he performed. Right? It was kind of a story. We talked about it maybe on multiple shows. Just kind of like, I kind of like what Juwan Johnson's doing. We talked about it on AMAs. I kind of like what Juwan Johnson's doing. And the whole community really hasn't caught on. So before anybody really catches on at him, I want to go out and see what I can get him for. And looking on Keep Trade Cut today, he's tight end 24, and people fucking hate him. So why not send out some offers and see what I can get? And it just so happens 2 of them got done with you. I also got a few done in some other leagues with some other folks, different. I mean, they're all kind of similar packages, but this first one, sending away Daniel Bellinger, I think Bellinger's a little bit overrated, Adam. I'm not here to dunk on you on anything about what you took in this trade.
Mm-hmm.
Just for me, if I could get off Bellinger for Juwan Johnson straight up, I would have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have done it. Get the 401. It's whatever. That's why when you set it back, I was like, perfect.
Here you go. Boom. Yeah.
Done.
Yep. I will say it's funny. So share-wise, I don't know if you know, what percentage share-wise you're at now with Juwan Johnson. I know you said you wanted to get to all. You want to own every piece of it, but
I want all the Infinity Stones.
Are you over 50 now? How high is it for Juwan?
I don't know. I don't know where I was at to start. I had quite a few of them. He was a waiver pickup. I don't think I took him seriously in a draft anywhere. Any startup that I did last year. I think he was just a waiver wire pickup that I did. And, in some leagues I missed out, some leagues I didn't. He might have been involved as a throw-in in some trades when I'm looking to compete last year, going he's playing well. Let me get him as a toss-in. But I had no idea where I was at. I have quite a few, though. I don't know where this puts me now, though.
Okay.
I can add about 3 or 4 more just within the last few hours.
Nice.
Juwan Johnson treasure trove.
So as you can see, the 2 trades here are Juwan Johnson, Mike is acquiring from me, as well as the 401 in this class for Daniel Bellinger. To give you an idea of why I was doing both of these and where I'm at in these leagues. So where I'm acquiring Bellinger here, to me it's a slight tear up on the name. I definitely think that Juwan Johnson has played better. Bellinger, I think, is someone that shows promise and upside. I think Mike's probably correct that he's overvalued currently. I think that's just the reality of a lot of the guys, though, that aren't in the top 12 to 15 of tight ends. After you get down there, anyone that's in that range is likely overvalued because there's nothing there that's really of substance. I was willing to take my shot on Bellinger, though, Mike, because of shares. So the reason I did it was, I already had Mike 9 Juwan Johnsons, right? So basically, if Mike didn't own him, there's a good chance I did. And if Mike's in a league without me, he probably already has him. So for me, I was able to get my Juwan Johnson shares, Mike, which are up pretty heavily at 9, I thought, in my 20 leagues, down to 7 here. Bellinger, I only had 1 other share of. So believe it or not,
portfolio move.
Portfolio move, yeah. And the other thing with this is the OG league up top, right? This is the shit league where I wish I should have done it just for the hell of it. Mike, I got 19 of the first 25 picks. I have almost all the 3rd round too. This 401 is probably something that helps you a lot and is a pick that you're going to take there. Mike, unless I start making a lot of trades, which I think I plan to, but it also is going to become what is all the fucking people that have seen me accord all these picks let me do. I'm going to have a roster issue if I have to start making a lot of these picks. 401 was a expendable pick for me, kind of why I did that. So second trade here, Mike, was a little bit more of an up tier for me, I thought, with Trey McBride than Bellinger. Now, I know they're probably in the same range, but the draft capital and what I saw back half of the year for McBride, I was a lot more encouraged with. This one I was a little more excited to do. Reality is, though, all I sent back to you extra was Hunter Long. The one difference in this bottom league, though, Mike, is it is a 2 tight end league. Not that it really matters that much, because I think 312, you could get another tight end, and you're still getting Juwan Johnson. Probably a long shot with Hunter Long, a guy we love that we're kind of RIPing now. So what about you and the difference that one with Trey McBride versus Bellinger for you?
I'd much rather give you Daniel Bellinger than I would Trey McBride. Like I still think there's some good outlook for Trey McBride. Now, he didn't have the greatest season, but we saw Week 17 championship week, tight end 2 on the week.
Right.
Like we saw him perform, at least do something. Daniel Bellinger, on the other hand, part of the reason I say I think he's overrated, Adam, he had one consistent week. Like, no spike week, but one consistent week all fucking year. Like, he was tight end 7 one time. That was the best he ever did. In an offense that was devoid of weapons, right? Kenny Galladay was fucking nothing. I mean, we all kind of listened to Ray and we're trying to get Isaiah Hodgins as a throw-in, right? Or maybe we have a little bit of interest in Richie James. But we think the Giants are doing something at the receiving position to try to make it better. And Daniel Bellinger had all the opportunity in the world. Now, granted, it's a rookie, and you know, I'm not going to dunk on rookie tight ends too hard, but just kind of where the community values. I mean, even myself, just a couple weeks ago, before I really looked at it, I go, I think it's just more of a name play. Now, not saying that this is ever a bad deal for you, right? You get off a guy who doesn't have name cachet in Juwan Johnson to a guy who does carry some weight in Daniel Bellinger based on the name. So the way you and I Dynasty, we're not going to play real fucking football in our fantasy leagues until September. So it's 8 months away. Nobody gives a shit. You have plenty of time to trade them away, include them in other deals, make whatever kind of moves you do. Trey McBride, on the other hand, like, that one hurt a little bit. Like, and I was trying to figure out the best possible way to tear down, quote unquote, from Trey McBride to Juwan Johnson and get the stuff back. And at some point, I'm just going, if I'm being honest with myself and I'm looking at it right now, would I take Juwan Johnson or Trey McBride and start up first? Based on how I feel and my conviction on Juwan Johnson, I would take him over Trey McBride. And that's probably going to be hot takey. So that's where I'm at on the Trey McBride versus Bellinger. That the 1-for-1 on Bellinger, I would have sent you the Trey McBride. Like, I needed to ask for something back.
Well, then let's do the eBay bidding thing, right? Like, had I sent it back, let's say without the third, like, would you have done it with just Hunter Long in there? Push come to shove.
I mean, you put Hunter Long in there because, you know, like, no matter how much he does nothing, he's Adam Troutman.
There's a piece of Mike in Hunter Long, yes. You know.
He owns a part of my soul. I think maybe. I can't tell you for certain, man. I might have probably just shopped around to, like, other people, not specifically in this league, right? You own Juwan Johnson, but been like, man, I'll try to get some shares some other places. Like, I'll test the waters with some other people and see if I can't fill out my portfolio like you were talking about earlier and try to get that up in other spots and just kind of write this one off as a loss. you know, like, I'm not going to pry this out of Adam's hands.
We've already went way too long on Mike's Juwan Johnson love, but you know, I think it's interesting. I
don't think he's making the thumbnail. I'm just gonna.
He's not gonna make the thumbnail just because we want people to actually click it, you know. So we're not gonna do that. But he's gonna be an extensive talk of this conversation already. I think, Mike, for me, this bottom league, this is a league that I just won last year, and I'm sorry, I didn't win. I ended up having to concede early based on the scoring. Probably could have asked for the push, but one of those where I thought I had a chance. Wasn't sure, so gave the concession. It's a team, though, that's competitive and I think has a chance to compete again next year. And I know the spike weeks say differently last year, but there's a piece of me, the way that I saw McBride down the stretch, I'd rather make the bet with him. And I also think I'll be able to move him later for another piece that's possibly better, where I already have some other tight ends. So I think these are both trades that, one, are fair on the surface as value. Two, I think you're getting your guy, and I'm actually getting off of shares. So I think there's a lot of reasons why these make sense and are good deals for both sides.
Listen, man, it's nothing against you too. If this was reversed and you don't share the Juwan Johnson love that I have, I completely understand it. Like, the better assets, the safer ones, the higher ones with market value, whether I think it's right or wrong to get into, is Bellinger and Trey McBride. Like, people are more willing to take those guys than they are Juwan Johnson. That's why even you, a savvy dealer, you knew when you sent counters, you're like, Mike's going to want something extra, right? You didn't go, get the fuck out of here. Like, we're done. Like, you knew there had to be a plus coming back. So
Right.
this is a bet that I'm making. So I don't think everyone should make the bet, but I feel comfortable enough across my portfolio that I'm going to plant my flag on Juwan Johnson. And, and next year we'll find out if it's another Adam Troutman or Hunter Long or one of these other tight ends that breaks my heart all the time.
Well, the one difference, though, I will say with Juwan Johnson versus those two were truly hopeful forecasts, right? And young guys. Juwan Johnson has at least, like you said, in spike consistency this year, shown us something.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the big difference is. All right, Mike, so off of our trades and on to other people's trades. Everybody that here wants to see their other trades. So
let's get to some real deals.
Mike, we have a 12-team tight end premium. That's basically the settings that I have here for Jason Aguirre. I don't know if it's best ball I line up, but we have the 110, the 102, and the 24-second being acquired for Jahan Dotson, Kenny Pickett, and a 204 in 23. So, Mike, I'll let you kick it off. What do you think here?
All right. So, Dotson, Pickett, and the 204. I like all those pieces. I think this is a heady move by Jason Aguirre. Could we look at it in like 7-8 months and go like, man, I can't believe you sold for this? Yes, 100%. But one of my new things is trying to get into the liquidity, man. Scott Connor has put his hooks in me. And at this time, man, Kenny Pickett or the 102. I think even right now, like most people probably want the 102. I love Kenny Pickett to death, but even myself, I probably pivot off to the 102 pretty easily. Like it's not going to take a lot for me to go, yeah, I'm gonna take my shot on Will Levis or C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Jahmyr Gibbs, whatever I want to do there. Dotson or the 110, the 110, not 110. The 110 becomes a little bit harder. Like it feels like a reroll for a talent that'll probably be similar to Dotson, but hasn't actually done anything on the NFL field. But even that, Adam, 1-for-1, if I were to take everything else away, I think just the liquidity factor and the way people value draft picks come May, I take the 110. And it hurts to say because I fucking absolutely love Dotson. The 204, the 24-second, I'd rather have the 204 in this year's class, right? The time aspect. But I think if you're kind of taking wins at every other spot, like I'm okay taking a little bit of an L there and just kicking the can down the road for one more year. So I really like this move from Jason Aguirre. I'm not saying it's going to be ever a bad move for McMorris. I don't know how active the league is trade-wise, like how many deals are going to get done back and forth. We could get to September, October, November and go like, man, Kenny Pickett really took a step forward. He looks like I don't think he'll ever be an elite quarterback, but he looks like a top 14, 13 option at the position. Nice and safe, young. He's looking good. And Dotson continues to be things that we want to see. And the 110 could be a bust. The 102 could be a bust. But this is a great move to play now in January before the values of those picks go up, right? This is one of the few times you can buy draft picks at still kind of a depressed value. So great move for Jason Aguirre, in my opinion. You're on mute there, buddy.
The out here coughing so much that I'm forgetting to put myself off of you. I apologize. So I like it for Jason Aguirre too. I think the big thing is, Mike, like 102 over Kenny Pickett for sure. As much as I love Kenny Pickett, 102 over Kenny Pickett, not really debatable. I think there's a decent gap there. And here's where I think it's interesting though, Mike. When I look at the difference, this is where I think it hinges on for me. Difference in 110 to 204 in this class, Mike, for me personally, not really that big. Like I want 110, right? But I think if I kind of lateral those two and say that the arrow's the 110 slightly, now all of a sudden when I look at Dotson versus 24-second randomly, I definitely want Dotson. Because I'm in agreement with you, like 110 for Dotson's probably fair in value, but I want the pick. But when I start thinking about the 204 and how much that's worth, if I go more with the 110, now I think Dotson is a win over the 24-second. The reason I'll still lean Jason Aguirre's side here is because I think the 102 over Pickett is enough to make that still worth the bet.
Okay.
But I think it's a pretty good trade here, man. Like when I start thinking a lot of it, I think there's a lot of plays that Jason can make. Like the 102 as the prize piece, I think is the big thing. And then there's a lot of moves he can make because this is all liquid, whereas Kenny Pickett already has preconceived notions by a lot of people in your leagues. Jahan Dotson has a lot of preconceived notions by people in your leagues. So ultimately, I think the flexibility that Jason carries now with this trade is all worth it for me. So I think it's very close, but the reason I lean his side is the reasons I just mentioned.
I think the values line up, right? If you're going to do anything, you have a tiebreaker where you go, the picks don't get injured. The actual picks themselves. Now, the players you take at those spots obviously can get injured, but bad stuff could happen to Dotson or Pickett. I don't wish it on any player, but we've seen wild off seasons where people thought they were completely fine with Calvin Ridley heading into 2022, and then it's like, wait a minute, man, suspended for a whole year for gambling? Holy shit, nobody saw that coming. So you've seen some crazy shit happen. So at least when you're investing in picks, if the value's close, like that's why I just lean the draft picks, especially now because they're still on the rise, they're still on the ascension. Good deal.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, so we got Koopa Troopa. Now, speaking of Scott Connor, this one here, Mike, is interesting because
liquidation, baby, liquidation.
Not just that, Mike. We got the liquidation, but what we have is Scott Connor specifically the auto accept trade block, which was just mentioned in his last podcast. He talked about on Destination Dynasty how it works. This is Koopa Troopa's first time doing the auto accept trade block. This is what he got. So he got the liquidation and his first auto accept trade block, which basically means, if you don't know what that is, you go in and you put in your sleeper league chat, whatever your league chat, you put in Michael Gallup any second, 23, 24. Someone sends you that offer, boom, you get a deal done. Kind of basically setting a price. It's like putting a price tag on players that you have as far as liquidation draft picks go. So he ended up getting a 24-second from Bernardo 18. He doesn't actually say where that pick is or what it projects to. It's also 24, so it's too hard to really do that for Michael Gallup, Mike. So this is a 12-team Superflex lineup, start 11, and it's a 2 tight end league. So, Mike, what are your thoughts?
Listen, man, I want to buy into a lot of Michael Gallup. I'll probably have a lot of Michael Gallup in startups. I wasn't a fan of Michael Gallup last year where he was going, and you and I talked extensively ad nauseum about that because of the ACL. Like, we knew it was going to take a while for him to come back. The offense is good. He was hurt. He was coming back. But the fact remains, Adam, if I were to tell you, like, Michael Gallup is ever worth a first-round pick, like just generically. I mean, that feels like Ike and Gene, man. Shout out to those guys. That's cap. That is 100% cap. I don't think that ever happens. I don't think it ever happens for Michael Gallup. Now we'll have debates on where in the second round he's worth. Like, is he an early second? Is he mid? At this point, man, in January, when there's no points being, if Cooper really loves Michael Gallup, at some point, maybe in June, he can try to get him back. You know what I mean?
If he ends up really high in warp, which that could happen. Warp could happen. He's not going to be a first round value, but he might get high in warp maybe.
I'll take the liquidity, man. This is something I've been trying to wrap my head around, and I always thought it was bad, and it bit me in the ass a billion times last year, and I've learned my lesson. If I can make these assets that don't really matter that much just into a liquid piece, I can put in some other deal. I can trade in season to go get, like a Tyler Lockett, who just consistently finishes as a top 12 wide receiver and nobody respects. I mean, there might be somebody in my league who goes like, yeah, I'll take a 24-second for Tyler Lockett. In season, that's a perfect move for me. Like, it helps me do what I need to do and try to win a championship. So, yeah, I like Cooper's side. I'll take the auto-accept trade block here. Shout out to Scott for that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I also think, Mike, what's interesting is that he specifically said lineup. And, Mike, I'd probably be willing to do this in both. But in best ball, I think I might be a little more hesitant because it's 24, where depending on the league, right? You have to know your league, everyone listening, watching the trade show. You know the league where in 23 – these 24 seconds aren't going to move and aren't going to really be able to net you a player until way late down the road.
Yeah.
Scenario like that, if you wanted to stay with Gallup or, even do the flip of this for Gallup, I kind of get it for depth, right? But for me, in best ball, that would be the only exception in a league like that moves that way. Outside of that, like in lineup especially, Mike, I want the second for sure. Because Gallup, I think he's probably a little ahead of roster clogger, but I don't know that he's that much past roster clogger in lineup, right? And I think those are the types I want to move off of for seconds, because if I construct my roster appropriately now, I can use this second to go get a running back that's in a situation that's smashing, that doesn't necessarily have, this crazy high allure on him. And I can have a running back or wide receivers that are worth way more than Michael Gallup in my flex spots. So I think that's where I'm with Koopa for sure.
I'm with you, buddy. I don't think he's a roster clogger, but I mean he's definitely outside the Scott Connors, top 50 threshold wide receiver types. Like, exactly. And I don't know if I think he's probably closer to roster clogger territory, like just kind of being a guy that you don't give a shit about, than he is being a guy that you go like, I gotta go get me some Michael Gallup. You know what I mean? Like I really have to go. So
100%. All right, Mike. So we have a lineup start 9. Lineup start 9, 12-team Superflex League. Liebert's getting a 24 first, 2 of them, one early, one late, for the 23-108, the 23-203, and the 23-303, Mike. What say you here? This is Superflex, 12-team, lineup start 9.
I mean, it is still early, but like the 107 is kind of the spot where I'd like to be or better in the draft. After that, I wouldn't re-roll 1 for 1, right? Like, I'm not going to trade the 108 for just a random 24 first. Unless I'm doing one of those crazy things where I look at, around my leagues and I go like, this guy is always bad. His team is horrible. He has like one quarterback. Like he just doesn't have a lot of outs to ever be good in 24. And I want to make that bet. I will do that. I will be a little bit aggressive and do that. I will say this though. You get a second one, even though like now it projects late, so much shit can happen where you could be looking at 2 early 24 picks and you gave up the 108 and the 203 and the 303. I'm comfortable with that. I think I would have waited a little bit longer though. Like this isn't a move I really want to do in January, February, March. This is more a move like once we get closer to draft and people are going, oh man, I got to get to the 108. I really need, so-and-so. That's when I go like, all right, let me get 2 first and a second back. And maybe you don't have to put the 303 in, right? Maybe you don't have to add that in. Or maybe it doesn't have to be the 203. Maybe it's the 108 and the 303 for 2, what they think are random 24 first. Something along those lines. I think that's when I want to do it. I think the timing just is off just a little bit. So like right now, I got to pick a side. I think I maybe take the 108, the 203, and the 303 just because of what I think I might be able to turn that into.
I would say what's interesting about this one, so like when I think about the 108, right, like currently today, when you think about the 108, you may not think that's that sexy or that great of a pick. Currently, if you look at like the Destination Devy mock draft data, shout out to everybody over at DD. Dynasty Barry runs that, Ray GQ, everyone over there, obviously. 108 tells you that that's going to be like Jackson Smith and Jigba range. Now, if that actually held true, Jackson Smith and Jigba, if he ends up getting the draft capital and the landing spot, the way that wide receivers are going, Mike, that could be a very valuable piece. Yes. I say that now. Also, 2 giveaway jerseys coming to y'all. But nice Mike, right? But the thing is, like that's today. Like, what if Jackson Smith and Jigba, Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison all get like early DC and smash draft capital? All of a sudden, they're inside the top 8. Maybe now you're looking at Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Jahmyr Gibbs. 108, like the more I think about how things could play out, I think is going to be someone you really want. Now, 108 versus the early 24 first, I think I still want the 24 first if I know it's early. Like if you're telling me it's top 3, this team is trapped.
If it is like locked in, I'm with you.
Okay. Here's the thing that's interesting to me. 203 and 24 first. Like I think 203 this year, Mike, because it's a deep class. And I put this in the newsletter that came out today, yesterday by the time you see this. I want all the seconds, Mike. All the damn seconds, because this is a deep class. And I think the early seconds in this class, really value-wise, are going to end up being like a late first in a lot of classes. And especially like last year, right? You got to the late first in 22. Everyone's like, trade out, just get out, get any first. I think like the 203 is a late first value. So I think like that evens it out. And then here's, I guess, where, given everything that you're doing today, Liebert, my only criticism would be like, I don't think you need to add the 303 today. You're giving him all time here, right? You're giving him time. I don't think you need to add the 303 because if I want all the seconds, 303 is not that far from that either, Mike. Like, I think 303 is going to be a shot you can still shoot your shot at running back on. The one thing he's saying lineup start 9, so I know what he's trying to do here is lock in one of these absolute star-studded quarterbacks in that class, which ultimately could very well pay off and be what you get. You get Drake May, or one of these superstar quarterbacks. Like if you somehow get Caleb Williams, that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I still think I would lean Liebert's side. I just think I truly think you could have craftily found a way to not add like that third in there, especially an early third.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's a 312, man. Like the 303, I'm with you too. Like if you like the second round, then you should probably like the early part of the third round. And I think back to like the 2020 class where Antonio Gibson, granted we're in 2023 now, and I've had to eat a little bit of crow on him, but still, I mean, that was a guy who you were getting in the third round.
Yeah, he netted multiple firsts for a couple of years, man. So
right, and you still had idiots like me going like, yeah, buy him for any first.
Buy him for any first last year. Yeah, so that's the whole point. Is you could miss out on something like that, or a value flip. Someone wants to come get whatever player they want while you're on the clock at 303. So that's the only caveat I would say. But I still like your side overall, Liebert. All right, bleed green, 24 first, Mike, or George Pickens. We got no settings, so straight up, like let's just assume Superflex and one quarterback, talk through both of them. George Pickens or a random 24?
This is one QB. This is atrocious. I would take George Pickens at a heartbeat in a one QB. Superflex, I think we can make a case. I mean, this is our guy Marlon. Man, I just think GP probably commands more for a lot of people. I mean, some people have him as a top 20 dynasty wide receiver. I think that's probably wrong. I like GP. Adam, I do. I think he's probably a little bit overrated for my taste. And like, I'll just kind of shop at a different store, right? If we're doing name brand, off brand, I think that's a good one to kind of touch on.
Yep.
But there is something like the connection and the big playability that he had with Kenny Pickett at times, and just how bad Deontay Johnson, our guy, was, where it's just like, man, I could see this guy being the alpha as soon as like next year. Maybe Deontay's fed up with it and they move on from him. I know he just signed that contract, and we'll have to do the deep diving on like how much it costs.
But there's already cryptic tweets, man.
I mean, there's already shit. And if you're talking about Kenny Pickett, who I like ascending in an offense with GP now becoming the unquestioned number one alpha, maybe he's not overrated. I just think I don't do it for 24 first. Like, I might re-roll because I have convictions about Jackson Smith and Jigba. Or like you were mentioning earlier in the trade show, Adam, like if this is the 108 or George Pickens, I think I take the 108 because I'm like, I want the mystery box of what could be right now. Like, I'm good and let me cash out. If this is like the 110 with the Jahan Dotson deal we had earlier, I think that's where I go like, yeah, maybe I take George Pickens. Like maybe I lean that side. I do want the liquidity, but you get to 24 first. If I don't know anything about it, like, I mean, we all know those guys in the league who are absolutely horrible. And maybe this is the case. Maybe Killer KB is the guy who always finishes like second to last, third to last, that kind of thing. And this is where you're taking advantage of them. And you're like, you like George Pickens, you think this is going to save you. I'll be happily taking, Caleb Williams next year with your pick. Then it's a win. But I'm not going to lie, man. I think 24 random, not knowing anything about it, not knowing the context of it. I just take George Pickens here. I think I take George Pickens.
I think it's close, honestly. Well, let me say this. I agree with you. If it was one quarterback, I want Pickens, no question. When we talk Superflex, which I think this is what this is, Mike, and the majority of people should be playing. If you're playing one quarterback, nothing personal, I just think that Superflex is the way to go.
Please
start getting into Superflex, and you'll realize why. Okay, we call them AAF leagues over our way. American. Go ahead, Mike. What do you think, man? AAF?
Alliance of American Football. Yeah, like there's a reason that league's dead. Just like your one QB leagues, they should be dead too.
Yeah, if you're not a part of the main thing, Superflex, the NFL, you end up going to the wayside. So whole point with that tangent is Superflex, what we play in, Mike. I think. See, this is the thing. If this is a team that I'm betting against, right? And I think that's what you're doing here. I love it, honestly. If you're betting against a team that you think is not rostered correctly, there is variance, but like if I assume mid in 24, Mike, like I want mid over George Pickens. I'll say that. Okay. The problem will be time and if it becomes late, right? Now, if it's more late, and I still think the class in 24 is going to be awesome. I think late 24s are going to be great too. But I just think that the time you give, if you have George Pickens versus a late 24, by the time that pick ends up shaking out, it could be pretty even or maybe even Pickens slightly arrow up because of what could come his way. Mike, though, when I think about what 24 has with the wide receivers like Marvin Harrison Jr., with the quarterbacks like we said, like I know Travion was down, but Travion Henderson, some of the great running backs in this class, Mike, I get my shot at one of those 6 guys. George Pickens, I know there's upside there, and I'm not saying I don't like him because I'm still somewhat in on George Pickens. I just think I'm with you. He could be overvalued. But if you're giving me a chance, one with liquidity, like I don't have to worry about George Pickens getting hurt, something bad happening, something bad off the field. Who knows? Like I don't have to worry about that, and I have a chance that has a locked-in top 6 pick. Because here's the thing, like if this ends up being a non-playoff team, right? If I'm sitting on this lotto ticket and it's a non-playoff team, I don't even have to wait till 24. My team's in the playoffs. This is a lotto ticket. Hey, who wants Drake May? Who wants Caleb Williams? Come get him now. I'm in the playoffs winning money. And as great as George Pickens is, he's not going to carry the weight of some of those early 24 guys. Mike, I think that's where, for me, I'll take the liquidity and the ambiguousness of this 24 pick today.
That's fair. That's fair. It just feels like it's missing, like Scott talks about, the leverage, the hashtag leverage.
Feels like you could have gotten something extra too, right?
Yeah, like it doesn't need to be a shit ton, man. Like for me, like
24 third.
Give me Juwan Johnson.
There you go.
If you like Isaiah Hodgins, give me Isaiah Hodgins, or one of these running backs. Like you think Bam Knight's.
What about Daniel Bellinger, who you were dunking on?
Give me Daniel Bellinger, right? Like just give me something where it's. If this bet I make on this player actually hits or comes close to matching value or production of George Pickens, like I got a free 24 first out of this deal. If you miss, you miss. But I think that's a way to always keep you moving forward and keep you in that 60% mark because it gives you 2 different outs, right? The 2 for 1. So even if it's not something big, it doesn't have to be a draft pick or it doesn't have to be, maybe there's a player out there you want to make a bet on. Maybe it's a Brock Purdy or a Zach Wilson in a Superflex league, or you think Marcus Mariota, for Christ's sakes, might have a job somewhere just because the quarterback landscape's fucking horrible. You get him tossed in. And if you're right, great. You know what I mean? But if you're wrong, it's okay.
I'm with you.
I think that's what's missing for me.
I'm with you in generically here. Now, Mike, let me say this. Let's say this is a team that you're willing to bet against, though, and this is what they're going to give you now, no more in the pick, and you're wanting to bet against them. Are you willing to make it?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, cool. I fully acknowledge. I fully acknowledge I'm willing to make those kind of risky bets with certain managers. I'm trying to be nice. Certain managers in my leagues who have a history of being bad and consistently being bad and making horrible moves. Like those are the kind of guys where, like, if I miss, oh well, like I'll let you have this win. But
yeah,
a lot of times, man, you can spot the fish. You can spot the fish where I go, like, if this is the best I can get out of them, I'm cool with it because I know that 90% of the time this might be Caleb Williams next year.
I like it, man. So Mike, we have a 2-quarterback league, 12-team full PPR. We had to get a 7 GoatRings trade. I had to come down from the bedroom, do the COVID trade show. We had to get 7 GoatRings on the trade show as well, Mike. There's 2 things that had to happen. What do you think of this trade? There's a lot of pieces here. So we got DK Metcalf, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, the 301 in this class, for 7 GoatRings acquiring Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, so the tandem. It's funny, Mike, we might have a thumbnail because I'm rocking Trey Lance. People were out here saying that, I'm not going to say this, but that I have a way of kind of cursing players with my jerseys. And Trey Lance here, I'm just telling you what other people say. But Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Jameson Williams, the 101 and the 303, Mike. So this ain't close to me, but you tell me what you think.
All right, so for me, I'll start with Kyler and the 101. I think in a lot of people's minds, market value. I'm not going to lie, man. There's a pretty good scenario where the 101 is more valuable than Kyler Murray. And I like Kyler. I like Kyler because he almost feels like he's just by default in that top 12 quarterback range.
He is.
No matter where we think or when we think he's going to be back in 2023, like when he plays, whether it's start of the season, mid-season, late season, is 23 a wash because he can't run because of the ACL? Doesn't really matter. I mean, Kyler's a top 12 quarterback. The Bijan hype, the 101 hype, whoever it ends up with, I think it's probably pretty safe to say that I think that goes before Kyler in a lot of places when it's all said and done. DK or Trey Lance? Trey Lance is a quarterback. I love DK Metcalf, but Trey Lance is a fucking quarterback.
I think DK is the safe play, and I think Trey Lance is the upside play.
Correct. Jordan Love or Brock Purdy? I mean, I'll dunk.
Come on.
I'll dunk on fucking Brock Purdy as much as I like to, Adam. But Jesus Christ, at this fucking point,
let's stop being childish, right?
I'd rather just have Brock Purdy. J-Mo in the 303 or the 301.
Mike, I mean,
come on.
It's the back end of this deal that makes it not close for me, really.
Right.
Because I think that in two quarterback especially, Mike, like there's just a need to get your quarterback. So I think that Kyler Murray being the most valuable quarterback in the deal. And here's the thing, even if you decided 101 isn't going to be Bijan, you want to take your pick of quarterback here, unless they come out of the gates firing, like Kyler's going to end up being more valuable than them probably at some point next year. So, like, I get that from Saquon, these nuts, like, you want to go get Kyler, right? But, Mike, I think here's the thing, right? Then the next two quarterbacks off the board, not including the pick, are the ones on the 7 GoatRings side, right? So you get Trey Lance, you get Brock Purdy. Like, even if there's so many scenarios, and I'm not going to speculate and sit here and try to tell you what's going to happen in Frisco, if they're going to win versus Dallas, if he's going to look good versus Micah Parsons and these guys getting after him. I don't know that. I don't know. But even if Brock Purdy somehow is the quarterback for Frisco next year as their starter, Trey Lance is going to get a chance somewhere, right? And honestly, the flip side I think is true too. If Trey Lance ends up being a quarterback of the team moving forward, which I still think will happen, like Brock Purdy's good enough, I think he's going to get a chance somewhere just because of what he's done, even if you don't think he's that good. So now you get, Mike, all that, plus you have Jameson Williams is easily the next best player in this deal. When you talk about, like, obviously DK, those quarterbacks, the 101 and Kyler out of the equation, Jameson Williams is way over Jordan Love and the 301. The 301 and the 303 are 2 picks apart. This shit got criminal in the back half, man. Really bad. And I think there's a case right now for the next way it's going to trend, Mike. Kyler down and 101 up. So, like, I think it's all the way 7 GoatRings, man. This is one of those 7 GoatRings trades where everybody's like, see, this is why who are these people, you know?
These can't be real. Adam, would you say too, I mean, this is coming from two guys. It feels like we've talked about him at nauseum too, but Jameson Williams, I think before the ACL injury, you and I were big fans of him, and we were probably about to do stupid shit in the NFL draft, the rookie draft, with where we were going to take him and probably where we were going to rank him. I will say this, the value hit hasn't been as steep, and it's actually been highly shocking to me. Is it safe to say, though, both you and I would probably lean on the fact that just market sentiment on Jameson Williams, it feels like he's overvalued?
No question. But then there's also, I'll take an overvalued receiver on my team that I can flip too, right?
Well, even a guy that I think overvalued, if I could never flip him, I'm looking at it like you explained, like Jordan Love in the 301.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams, fuck me. Like, I think he's overvalued. I don't think he's dead.
Right.
Like, I don't think he's horrible.
I don't think there's, 25 players in this draft class that I'd rather have ahead of Jameson Williams. Like, come on, man. Damn.
Nah, I'm good.
Sheesh.
Yeah,
7
man.
GoatRings, man. Out here.
Stop it.
All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel sick again. Jesus, that is bad. Killing people. 7 GoatRings. Saquon, these nuts, I hope you don't watch that because, well, what's done is done, man. Hopefully you learn something. But anyway, all right, Mike. Superflex PPR, 2 tight end premium lineup. T-Law is the other quarterback. He's in a rebuild. So, Mike, what you have here is you got Justin Fields and DJ Moore. All right. I just wanted to get the settings out before we get into the greasiness. For Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Dillon, Matt Corral. It feels like it's been a long time since we've talked to any Matt Corral, Mike. Speaking of, getting hyped up for draft seasons. And the 23-208, just talked about how much I want a lot of the second round. So, Mike, what do you think?
Jesus, this is horrible. Broncos country killed it. Fields or Jonathan Taylor, as much as I love JT and I'll still fight and defend for him. Like
not over Fields.
This QB market too. Man, I love me some Justin Fields. Easily take Justin Fields over Jonathan Taylor. And A.J. Dillon, Adam, we kind of talked about that Spike Week best ball to start the show with Juwan Johnson. I will tell you it's not very rosy for one A.J. Dillon. And we kind of knew it. Then he had a little bit of a stretch where you're like, maybe he saved himself. Nah, it's still absolutely fucking horrendous.
Yeah, he had some good weeks down the stretch, but it honestly still in the totality, like it's not that impressive, really. It's very replaceable. And Mike, I think the other thing too is, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
I was just going to say DJ Moore, as much as he's disappointed us and hurt us and his QB situation.
He hurted me too.
his QB situation has just been a thorn in our side for it feels like forever. DJ Moore, AJ Dillon, Matt Corral, the 208. I will gladly pay AJ Dillon, Matt Corral, and the 208 for DJ Moore every single day of the week. And I do love the 208, right? Like I want seconds, but I'll take DJ Moore. No fucking question about it. And I already said Justin Fields over Jonathan Taylor by quite a bit. So home run, slam dunk. Not often will you find me going like, a 4 for 2 and being on the 2 side. Right? Even in lineup leagues, I kind of want to divest and de-risk myself. But this is fucking egregious. This is egregious.
I mean, this honestly to me, Mike, in a lineup league, and he doesn't say how many starters, but if it's not like crazy deep starters, like if I'm talking 11 or less, Mike, I'll pay all of that for just Fields.
Yeah,
I'll pay all that for just Fields in a lineup league. Like I'm not even exaggerating. Like JT, I like him still quite a bit, but in lineup, like start 11, start 10, start 9, maybe even start 12, Mike. Like I'll pay all of this bit for Justin Fields. You get a free DJ Moore. I look at this, man.
In a best ball league, just the way the QBs are too. I mean, even our best ball leagues, I still want those 2 elite quarterbacks. Or, for heaven forbid, I want at least one of them. I might even pay this in a best ball league. I'm not gonna lie.
And this is for just Fields.
Just Justin Fields, yeah.
Mike,
I didn't even think about that. Like this is a free DJ Moore.
Yes, and then Mike, the crazy part is, like I think this is a big win for Broncos country because Broncos country, let's ride. Like you needed a win after what happened this year badly, so I'm glad you got one because man, the whole situation in Denver is not looking ideal. You're gifting a top 6 pick and all,
Props for Broncos country to actually be able to identify what's a good quarterback.
Yeah, true.
I guess maybe it's easy.
Well, it's not very hard to identify what a good quarterback is these days anymore. The landscape's bad. All right, Mike. Here's a good one. So we got
two of our favorite guys.
Yeah, man. We got Dynasty Barry and Blitzing Buzzard in a league. These two are chopping it up in Barry's Discord all the time nowadays. Blitzing Buzzard is getting KJ Osborne. Dynasty Barry is getting Keontae Ingram at a 24th third. Mike, now here's the thing. What's great about this is our type of stuff. 12-team Superflex best ball. Start 11. So easy. Go ahead. What do you got?
I love you, Blitzing Buzzard. You're my guy. We chop it up quite a bit. But DB's been paying attention and studying our playbook for a long time. I will take DB's side every day of the week. I would probably trade away KJ Osborne for the third alone. And you just get a free dart throw running back.
Yes,
who may have a role.
See, I think Mike. When I really look at this, and honestly, like what I'm doing right now is taking aside like my love for Blitzing Buzzard and Barry, because if you did it without this, I can't pick a side. Period. But even when I do that, Mike, the way I look at this is this: I think that a 24 third a year out being a third round pick, like it's still liquidity. It's still probably what KJ Osborne's worth. I'm not someone to bet very highly on KJ Osborne, but at the same time, he's probably worth a third. Like, I think that's a fair trade that I typically, though, would lean on the liquidity side. If I had a contending team, though, in best ball and I wanted to add a little bit of depth, I'd probably throw a third at it. I'd probably comfortably throw a third in 24. I think, to me, Mike, and I don't know what the spike and consistency weeks look like for Keontae Ingram. I know you were playing around with it recently, so I don't know if you could pull it up. Like, to me,
I can, and it's probably nothing. I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, to me, though, what I was going to guess is it's not one of either. I don't think he's done either one.
I don't think he made shit, man.
I don't think he was a consistent or a spike week scorer. But it is a plus. I think it's a pretty deep dive plus. So it doesn't really move the needle for me all that much. Honestly, Mike, I think this is a pretty neutral trade, truth be told. I think more often than not, I'd rather have the liquidity. But I think if I had a contending team, I'm very fine going to get KJ Osborne.
Yeah, and mine went down to 70 running backs. And I made
Couldn't
the
find the
cutoff
guy?
I made the cutoff at Kyle Juszczyk.
Couldn't find the guy.
And I couldn't find Keontae Ingram. So
It was kind of what I was going to guess, but I don't know if I missed maybe a week where he was a consistent scorer, you know.
No.
Okay.
No, you didn't. He didn't do fuck all.
He would have still missed you know what, Mike? He would have been a consistent scorer one of these weeks had he had his entire season in 1 week where he had 60 yards and a touchdown, you know.
It's true.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Keontae Ingram's a guy that I would like to have even way down in best ball. You know, if he ends up in the right situation where he gets work, cool. If not, whatever, cut him when my roster construction becomes more appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would probably lean Barry side, but I honestly think it's so neutral. I'm not going to pick a winner personally. That's just my opinion.
Like, if this was Barry in season as a contender, taking this package back, like I'd be, what are you doing, man? And I'm with you. Like Keontae Ingram was probably a 0, a nothing, going to give you nothing as a contender. KJ Osborne at the time was at least a guy who may enter your lineup occasionally, even if it's only once or twice.
Right.
In which he had that massive fucking spike week. So I will say this, as a contender, if DB did this during the season, like I would definitely be on the blitzing Buzzard side. Like as a contender, I would have sent this shit away for KJ Osborne, potentially making my lineup. But we're talking about a deal in January. Mm-hmm. And even though I think Keontae Ingram ultimately just becomes a guy that you just fucking get him off my roster. He's a nothing. He's not going to do anything for me.
Right.
There's an opportunity. There's a chance. Maybe they move on from James Conner, or maybe they come out and he's getting all the work in the preseason. The thing is, Barry's got 8-9 months to figure that out. Whether he wants to keep this dude on his roster and he gets the liquid pick. Right. He's not competing. He's not trying to put fantasy points on the team. That's why I say, like, there's no question about it. I'd rather have DB side right now. If we were having this conversation in November or December, much different story.
Yeah.
This is a move that you make in December, as a contender for blitzing Buzzard. That makes a lot of sense. In January, it doesn't, to me.
Yeah. I think that I think I'm with you typically on that. I want to, like I said, I think I'd lean Barry side, but honestly, like, the draft capital thing, me throwing it away today, the third is probably the spot where I'm not as, like, worried about losing that liquidity. But, yeah, typically I think, like, ideally if I was blitzing Buzzard, I'd rather make this move a little later on would be my only, caveat to it. But at the same time, Mike, like, if Thielen gets older, right, and that offense still has Kirk Cousins and they're still throwing the ball, KJ Osborne for a 24 third might not exist mid-season. It's one of those things where, but at the same time, you probably can get someone in that range for the third. So,
and then they go into May and they draft 2 guys.
Well, that's the other thing, right?
Second, third round pick, or the first of their second round.
Jordan Addison all of a sudden's on the other side of,
right.
Justin Jefferson.
And they spent draft capital last year on T.J. Hockenson. You're going like, what the fuck is KJ Osborne doing?
What's happening here? Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty neutral, but I would lean Barry side. I think
that's fair.
All right, so This is our last deal of the day, Mike. It's a 2-part deal. Joey Cheese Sticks, 12-team Superflex PPR, start 10. He says he's moving into the compete window. So, Mike, he is getting Cortland Sutton for a 24-second. That is his own pick. And then he is getting CeeDee Lamb, the 306, 24-second for his 25 first, the 111, and the 110 in this class, Mike. So, that's a big deal at the bottom there. But I'll let you go ahead and talk about it.
All right, the top part, Cortland Sutton for the 24-second. I do like making the bet on the Cortland Sutton thing. Like this is my 24 seconds going to be late. Is it the right bet to make? I mean, who am I to say? I made these a lot last year, and sometimes they paid off, and sometimes they bit me in the ass. And I will say this, on the other side being Richard 2421, selling Cortland Sutton's kind of a lot like selling Michael Gallup, Adam, and I'm not going to lie. Like, Cortland Sutton was pretty fucking disappointing and didn't do a shit ton for us this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'd almost rather have the pick. Right? Like, I see it from the other side. But I also get it from the other side where you're going like, the 24-212. Yeah, you can go ahead and have that. I'll take Cortland Sutton. Like, let me try to get some depth here. I get it.
Yeah.
The bottom part becomes pretty tough for me. I know those picks are late, but I still can't get over the fact that it's 3 firsts for a receiver, even if they are late.
Well, I mean, and now I agree, it's hefty. You are at least getting a 24-second back that basically nets out that Cortland Sutton, Mike. So what I'm looking at this at, just to give you what I was thinking, right, is net those 24 seconds out, go Cortland Sutton in the CeeDee Lamb side now. So it's Cortland Sutton, CeeDee Lamb in the 306 for the 3 firsts. I think that's the easy way to look at this deal.
Yep, you're right. Let's stop making it so fucking complicated, Mike. My bad.
You're good. You've been drinking. We're kicking it, you know?
CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton in the 306 for three first-round picks.
110, 111, and a 25 first for CeeDee Lamb, Cortland Sutton at 306.
I don't hate it, but why do it now?
Just, I would say this. The reason you do it now, I think, is because maybe for this person, they're getting leverage. They think they're getting the later first, which I still want them. But, Mike, I think here's the reality. CeeDee Lamb, once the draft is over, is going to go right back to, and probably even still should be, top 3 receiver. Like, that is not, it's not Chase. It's not Jefferson. But, Mike, I think CeeDee Lamb is becoming really close to them. Now, I don't think his dynasty weight is that, but I think he's really close as far as somebody else that's in that neighborhood. I think locking up CeeDee Lamb is a big deal. But, man, it's hefty, though. 3 firsts for Sutton, Lamb, and 306. Like, I think that's paying top dollar for it.
I just have a hard time doing it for any receiver not named Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. That's my thing.
I guess you know what. I guess you know what, Mike. You know what we can probably do is put CeeDee Lamb as a thumbnail, because here's the reality. I think you have to ask yourself: can CeeDee Lamb, and do you forecast him being good enough, like you've seen this year when he didn't even have Dak for the full year, like kind of propelling and getting himself back into the conversation with those two as close, or do you think he's not going to be able to sustain that type of production and then name cachet? Because I actually see a scenario, Mike, where he becomes like the third one in that combo.
That I'm not going to put it out of the realm of possibility, Adam. I guess I shouldn't say like realm of possibility, like you have like a 5% chance of that happening. No, I can see a scenario that's fairly likely where that happens. I think he can. He had some monster performances, and he looked very dynamic. I think one of the things too is I want to see what Dallas does opposite him. I think they do. We had this conversation. Ray's a giant Cowboys fan, and I think they need to bring somebody else in outside of Gallup. Like, I think Gallup is fine, and he deserves to start on the outside, but I don't want to see him bring in a Jackson Smith and Jigba to, kind of eat up that slot role. That's CeeDee Lamb's. Let him have that. Let him be that move piece. I always thought like bringing in somebody like a DJ Chark on the outside, another like deep field stretcher, bigger body, play on the outside type wide receiver would make a lot of sense for Dallas. And we have seen that offense be extremely explosive. And if CeeDee Lamb's going to be the number one in that offense, maybe they move on from Dalton Schultz and he's even more of a possession target hog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he could definitely work himself into that where it's like Chase, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and we're kind of all talking about him, pick one of the guys.
Right.
Either one of them. I think he has that potential. He has that ability.
Yes.
He has the offense where that could become a reality. I just fucking hate doing it right now in January, man. I don't want to make that bet in January. I'm all about this liquidity thing, and, fantasy points aren't being scored until September. Like I
get you. There is risk, but I guess, Mike, I really wish we had his team to really give me the full picture, because
Right.
like if I've rebuilded appropriately, like he said, he's coming out of a rebuild. Now, if I have a bunch of picks, and like this is a start 10 league and it's probably a lineup league, like that's where I do want to go get a CeeDee Lamb, right? Like that's where I do want to go get the studs and lock them up.
Yeah.
So I think here, like, and this is something I've been trying to do, Mike, is, you know, we kind of had to fight the whole wide receiver push this early this year, and we've kind of come around to it, is now like looking at a trade like this, looking at the settings and being like, you know what, man, shoot. Like it's not really, it's kind of against what I've thought a lot of the time, but when I'm looking at lineup start 10, CeeDee Lamb is probably the one type guy that I want to get if I'm going to go get a receiver. Because, Mike, here's the thing. Unless this becomes a backfire for his team and that 25 first becomes early, like you're not getting a quarterback in any one of those 3 picks, right? And outside of the quarterback, like CeeDee Lamb's going to be out, you know, Chase, Jefferson, and then CeeDee Lamb's going to be the one that I want to go get in a start 10. It's not, though, the quarterback, and it's not those 2 receivers, which is where our problem comes in with 3 firsts. But I think, honestly, given everything I'm seeing here, I'm okay doing it, especially knowing that really, Mike, I'm also still getting Courtland Sutton, which is not a great bet, but I think there could be a little bit of resurgence. Like I want him more than Gallup. And the 306 is kind of like, you know, go shoot your shot in that range, and maybe you land like one of these running backs that could help, you know, backfill for you in a league like this. So I think not to be too critical of either side. Like I think this is a fair deal in the settings. And Joey, man, if CeeDee Lamb's your guy and you think he's going to be one of these guys that can break into that mold of the elite, I'm all for it, man. I really am.
I mean, too, I guess, you know, CeeDee Lamb, Dallas, they're still in the playoffs. There's a scenario where you kind of have like a Gabe Davis where CeeDee Lamb goes for like 200 yards and 3 touchdowns, and all of a sudden this doesn't look like an offer that you could get CeeDee Lamb for. So I do understand that as well. So
because it wasn't, you know, I mean, it's going to sound crazy, but it wasn't all that long ago where everybody took CeeDee Lamb ahead of Justin Jefferson. It wasn't all that long ago where CeeDee Lamb was in front of Jefferson for a little while. I'm not saying he's ever going to pass him now, because I don't think that's coming. But for him to get in the same conversation as Chase and Jefferson, maybe not even as much as those guys, but in more of the big 3 versus just the big 2, I think that could happen. So that's the big pivot for me.
Not to throw too much data in this to make your head spin, but after the bye week in week 9, like these are CeeDee Lamb's finishes for the rest of the year. Is wide receiver 1, 45. Now, don't be alarmed. All wide receivers, it really doesn't matter, have these.
Jefferson
kind of
had those.
Yeah, every one of them does. It's hard being consistent. I mean, you're fucking an alien if you're like Cooper Kupp and you're always consistent. But wide receiver 1, 45, 17, 13, 51, 12, 1, 6, and 16. Like Adam.
Stud.
That's a stretch of being a really good fucking wide receiver, and it kind of coincides with Dak Prescott being back in the fold. So
and 2 of those wide receiver 1 weeks, Mike, which really tells you when it spikes.
Right, and those are kids. Coincidentally, like he's wide receiver 1 in those weeks when Justin Jefferson is wide receiver 2. Right?
Yep.
And how much do we love Justin Jefferson, but CeeDee Lamb still beat him?
Absolutely, man. I think CeeDee Lamb is definitely not the name value of those 2, but I think that like he's a guy, honestly, for me, Mike, that I want to target because of the fact that I think he's someone that could easily get close to those 2 in value, but he doesn't cost those 2 in value.
I think I was wrong. I remember saying it maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but I always thought I thought CeeDee Lamb was closer to wide receiver 9, 10 in value, just because that next tier wide receiver seems so deep than he was to wide receiver 1. But
right.
I might be changing my tune here a little bit. He's pretty fucking good at football, man, even though he's a Cowboy.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this is Mike talking up a Cowboy. So, listen, man, I thought this was a pretty good trade show. I thought my voice held up pretty well given,
you did, man.
an
you
hour.
Powered through. You played like a champ. No excuses. Rule 76.
Rule number 76, no excuses, play like a champion. You know, I had my hot toddy. It's not actually hot toddy. It's just straight bourbon. Doesn't quite taste the same, Mike. I'm hoping that doesn't stay the same forever because I need my bourbon. But I thought it was a good trade show. We had a bunch of trades, walked through a lot of them. We talked entirely too much about Juwan Johnson. But other than that, Mike, I thought it was a good trade show. Everybody tapping in. We really appreciate it. If this is bringing you value, please go ahead, go down, hit that subscribe button for us. We're almost at 1,000. When this drops, we might even be at 1,000. So go down, help us get to 1,000, get the giveaways. Mike's crazy person. I mean, I I'm out for 3 days upstairs in the bed. We're giving 8 things away to get us to 1,000. So Mike's got you gifted.
Listen, man, I'm not gonna do giveaways every time we hit the next milestone of 1,000, but we'll be doing some giveaways. Maybe at 5,000, 10,000 if we ever get there. But I thought 1,000 was pretty damn special for us from where we started in April, May with this YouTube channel. I mean, us doing the draft stream for 7 hours on day 3, with I don't know how many people were tuning in at the time. You guys were fucking incredible if you stayed even damn near half that time. And we had Jay Rich on for like 4 or 5 of those hours. So it was absolutely incredible from where we started to where we are now. It's all thanks to you guys' support, you reaching out, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing with your friends, posting stuff on Twitter. Every now and then I get on there and, we hooked up with John McGlynn, and, today he's like, hey, make sure that you're giving Iowa Michael and Eric Vanek a follow on Twitter. These guys are fantastic. And it's like, I don't ask for it, but it is so much appreciated, the love and support that everybody shows. Everybody who reaches out on Twitter, in the DMs, being like, it sucks my league mates are onto you now. They're talking about you as league chat. I don't have the advantage anymore. Like, I didn't know we meant that much. So it's incredible. Adam, we're on an incredible ride. So I can't go lightly, man. 1,000's a big fucking milestone for us. So we're going hard. We're going hard in the paint. We're giving away 8 signed pieces of memorabilia that are pretty cool. And all of them would look really good right back here. I would take all of them back here. But you, the people, you're the ones that are going to get it. So that's all I got, man. It's incredible that you powered through this whole thing, this whole damn episode, buddy, with COVID.
Hey, man,
we're a rock star.
We had to do it. I didn't get all the 8 gifts. I didn't necessarily even approve that, but we are giving them away because that's what we do here. Hopefully this episode was fun for you guys, and the fact that we're getting close to 1,000, we have so much love and support. I wanted to come down and get more of the trade show back to you. It didn't feel right, Mike, waking up on Saturday not having the trade show. So we're gonna do this late. I'm gonna stay up, get this edited. You're gonna be able to see this live Saturday morning. God forbid my Mac doesn't shut down on me again. I come down here and we're already having issues. I think it might have gotten COVID too, but nonetheless, we appreciate everybody tapping in. So we will see you back here, same time, same place next week, and I hope you have a great weekend. We are out of this thing. Peace.